Hello and welcome back to THD Racing. It has been a while. It's been such a long time since we have done
Too
a proper
long.
episode. So to kind of catch you up a bit, the last episode we filmed was when Daniel Ricciardo was announced that he was coming back to AlphaTauri. And we filmed that episode. I edited the
Wow.
episode and thought I'll get it up the next day, but the next day was my graduation day. And the episode just never got uploaded. And now it
That
feels
feels
like
like an eternity ago.
It was. It was the 12th of July, 11th,
Oh
12th
my god.
of July. So it never got uploaded. Then I moved home. Then I went on holiday. Then I moved back. We filmed an episode in person. It took Darine a week for us to work out how to send the
Upload it.
footage to me.
Yeah.
And edit it and upload it. Darine managed to finally send all the footage to me. I download all the
It was
footage.
shambles.
I put it into the editing software, and it corrupted. And so we just took it as that video should just never see the
That
light of day.
episode just wasn't meant to be.
So after two
2
months of no episodes, we're back.
We're here.
We finally made it, and I feel like we've come back at a good time. You might be asking, why is that? And that's because we've just had the Singapore Grand Prix, which is hands down the best Grand Prix.
Which is why I am repping my boy,
Carlos Sainz.
Yeah.
Mr. Smooth Operator.
Yeah.
I'm actually not wearing any F1 merch.
I know. I can't believe that.
Who am I? They also won't know that I have now accumulated some Red Bull merch. Which isn't just any Red Bull merch, by the way. This is like, we're talking 2012, and we're talking proper teamwear.
It's not merch. It's crew wear.
Crew wear, worn by an actual team member who used to work for Red Bull. So that's quite cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do have a lot to get through.
But no Red Bull today.
No Red Bull today. And we'll get into that. We're on a little bit of a time crunch because I do also have to film for Across the Pond Motorsport tonight as well. But we've got a lot to get through. We're really excited. Holly unfortunately can't be here with us today, but that's okay. We will see Holly soon, hopefully. Right. What a hectic weekend, Darine. Absolute chaos. What was going on?
I was so worried because every time that I would see the numbers from like free practice and qualifying, I was nervous. I was like, please let this luck not run out. And it didn't run out. And I've never been happier. Honestly, I was so scared. I was so worried that our luck would run out. What a race.
What a race. And qualifying as well. I watched qualifying in the car on my back from my nan's house, and it was the signal was great. It was so good. Until the final lap.
No.
The final minute of qualifying. No. We got stuck in traffic and the signal went, and I was like, you mean I waited for this exact moment all day.
All day.
And I missed the end of qualifying because I just saw signal. It was sad, but I did get to witness Liam Lawson knocking Max Verstappen out of Q3 because it was in Q2.
Yes.
And I was going, yes, Liam, yes, Liam, yes.
Can't believe that.
What's going on? And I'm going, Max Verstappen he's out. He's in 11th.
I saw the clip of him going, oh, I don't think we have the pace, I think we have a lot to improve. My heart was going like this. I was like, what? Are we finally going to get a good race?
And we did. We did finally get a good race. So
did you see, this is so unrelated, well, kind of, but did you see Eric Nam was at qualifying and him and Carlos signed a tyre together? I saw that guy in concert.
I didn't see it until yesterday when you sent the video.
Yeah.
End of qualifying, I missed the rest of it because
I was like, when did this happen? What are you doing here? I know that a lot of like K-pop artists were performing all weekend at the Singapore Grand Prix, but I didn't think that was real. I was like, no way. I just didn't believe it. I was like, I don't believe you. That's not happening.
It's like so funny when like your worlds collide. So like I remember when Shawn Mendes went to the Miami Grand Prix last year, and then this year at the British Grand Prix, Florence Pugh was there because she was working with Sir Jackie Stewart and the Racing Dementia charity. I can't remember what it's called. But it's so weird. Like, you're seeing them and you're like, Ariana, what are you doing
here? Literally. I was like, what's going on? But anyways, yeah, we're getting sidetracked. So
yeah.
Back to the race.
So before the race like starts, you know, you're like, okay, how long is it going to be until Max is winning, right?
Yeah.
We already knew from qualifying, we should probably mention this, that there was a massive crash during qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
Lance Stroll had a very scary crash, which unfortunately also affected other drivers in Q1 because this was like the final minute of qualifying and people were waiting for them to get their final lap. And so that meant that like Oscar Piastri didn't get to finish his lap and therefore was out of Q1. So yeah, we knew that Lance Stroll wasn't going to be in that car. It was very unfortunate to see, and we really hope that he's okay and is recovering well. So we were already one driver down before the race began, and then the race began, and unfortunately Yuki Tsunoda is not having much luck recently.
I was so upset. Like on his behalf, because this is not the first time this has happened to him. He hasn't even been able to start the race. If they do this to him next weekend in his home Grand Prix, I'm gonna lose it. Oh, he deserves so much better. And it's not anyone's fault. Like, it's just like bad luck, but it's just so upsetting. He doesn't even get a chance to start the race.
So he had a puncture, and yeah, he's just not having the luck. So let's hope that next week in Japan he'll actually get some luck and, you know, will actually do well. But yeah, so he unfortunately didn't even finish one lap of the race. So this is the second race in a row that everything has been on Liam Lawson's shoulders, and he has had to, you know, try his best to prove to AlphaTauri that he is a strong contender for a seat next year, which I will come on to this, but I think he has. So
definitely,
we had kind of an eventful middle and end of the race. At the beginning of the race, Darine and I were messaging, and we were actually saying we were quite bored.
Yeah.
And then as soon as
last words.
Yeah, as soon as we'd said that we were both bored, Logan crashed into the barrier, and
before that, there was a scary moment. There was a scary moment where Max was P2 for just a brief moment.
Wasn't that? I thought that was during the safety car because everyone was pitting.
No, I think you're right. Actually, I think you're right. But like the whole start of that race was very much, you know,
we were just constantly like watching Max. Yeah, we were watching Max going, oh no, oh no, oh no.
He was climbing up. He was.
So yeah, Logan crashed into the barrier and out came safety car.
We messaged, oh, it's so boring, literally 30 seconds before he crashed.
Yeah. And we were going, safety car. But of course, at Singapore, it's inevitable that a safety car comes out. So out comes the safety car. And boy, does everything change and get exciting. It was tense. We had some really bad pit stops like this race.
Very bad.
Fernando Alonso, he had, I think it was like 25 seconds. I can't remember, but his was a really
very bad one. Yeah.
And Charles Leclerc didn't have a good pit stop. Am I correct?
No, his actual pit stop was fine, but they had to hold him because there was loads of traffic because everyone was pitting.
Yes, I remember now. I think was it Lando? Lando was coming out, and
I think so.
They had to hold Leclerc. So yeah, the pits were very busy under the safety car because obviously you want to make the most of that. But we did see Max in P2, and we thought, here we go. This is it. I remember messaging you saying he's going to catch Carlos.
Yeah.
He's going to
It's going to be a repeat of last week.
It's going to be a repeat of last week, and then he's just going to storm ahead, and that's it.
But
that's not what happened.
Not at all.
I don't even have like words for how exciting it was.
The feeling
to see like, let alone like the top three, there being a struggle like over like third and second, but for the race lead we've not seen that for such a long time.
Honestly,
it felt like
the
F2,
feeling of seeing
F3.
Who was it that overtook? It was George. George overtook Max first, and then it was Lando as well. And Lando, he did it so effortlessly. Oh my god, that feeling of watching that was unbelievable.
Yeah. And so then it was looking like a really good race for George Russell. Until then he got overtaken by Lando, and so him and Lando battled it out for a bit. Then Hamilton joined in the mix, and it was kind of Hamilton, Russell, Norris, and Sainz. And then, unfortunately for George, his race didn't kind of end how I think he or anyone was expecting.
No.
It started off with Lando going in, slightly touching the barrier, and then George goes and does the same thing, but hits it a little bit harder. And at turn 10 on the final lap, boom, straight into the barrier. So he touches it from one corner going into the next, and well, then start of the corner and then goes through the corner and into the other side. So not the best day for George, and unfortunately you could tell he afterwards in interviews he was very upset. That could have been like
that could have been such a good I felt so bad for him, honestly, because he had worked so hard that whole race, and you could see that, but sometimes it's just not meant to be.
But I think the top four just worked like incredibly
hard.
You had weird teamwork from a Ferrari and a McLaren, because Carlos says it's on purpose when kind of he's dropping back a bit, saving his tires. He seems to be thinking he's doing what everyone would be thinking is wrong. But no, he was his own strategist yesterday. And he knew that if he could do that, he knew that then Lando would still be in DRS, which means that it would be harder for the Mercedes cars to overtake Lando. Therefore, it'd be harder for them to overtake Sainz, which I think was incredibly well thought out.
So clever.
And obviously then it did also help Lando's race, and it was nice to see those two together. I've kind of been a fan of them as teammates because they were teammates in 2019 and 2020, and I've kind of joined or like continued my F1 journey like coming to the end of their time as teammates. But it was such a happy moment to see those two like working together and being such great friends, because they have kind of had rumored to have like a few rifts here and there, but I think that's expected when you're friends with your competitors. But it was a fantastic weekend for Carlos and Ferrari. But Leclerc, he was up there to begin with.
He was. I think just after that pit stop and he lost those few places, it was really hard to get them back. The gap between him and the Mercedes in front was really big. I think it was like 12 seconds at the end. It's just he didn't catch up to them.
Darine, you're a Ferrari fan. I know you're more of a Carlos fan than a Leclerc fan, but I just wanted to ask like your opinion on Leclerc this season. I feel like we've seen better performances from him in previous years.
I definitely agree. I know we've mentioned this before, but I do think it's a mentality thing where like the season just hasn't gone well and he hasn't got the motivation, or like he's just not in it, like because it's a losing battle. So it's really hard to motivate yourself when there's no clear end goal. There's no reason to do it if there's no reward, you know. But he's had better seasons for sure. I feel really bad for him because it's really hard to get yourself motivated in a season like this. But maybe, you know, like obviously we're always like, oh, the Ferrari strategies and blah blah blah, but it's not all up to it's not always been the fault of Ferrari. Sometimes he's made mistakes as well. I know we've said this before, but yeah, sometimes he's made the mistakes as well. So, you know.
Yeah, I completely agree.
In equal machinery and in equal situations, Carlos has managed to make more of the situation than Charles has. So, don't know.
Yeah, I think Formula One is definitely a mental game, and there are times where you're mentally really challenged as well as physically.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of shows, and we know that F1 is cutthroat and it's hard.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I know that Charles will probably stay at Ferrari for a while, but I do kind of worry how the team are feeling.
Yeah.
After a fantastic win for Carlos, but looking at Charles, he was 12 seconds off the top four, top three, because he finished fourth now. Yeah, the top three, and so there was just I just don't know how they're maybe feeling and how Leclerc might be feeling. I'm hoping that we are going to see him up there more, and we've seen him win races before. Like, we know he has the potential. Just sometimes the execution just doesn't come into play, and I think that the pressure gets to him, and that's what he needs to work on.
Yeah.
So hopefully in the future that will kind of be worked on. I think we should talk about Aston Martin, because they obviously haven't had the best weekend, with Stroll not even starting the race after a horrific crash in qualifying. They then had a terrible pit stop, as I've already mentioned, with Fernando Alonso. And then Fernando stopped on track but managed to get going again. If you told me at the start of the year, when Aston Martin were doing so well, specifically Alonso, that like they were struggling now, I don't think I would have believed you.
And I remember our excitement for Aston Martin and specifically for Fernando. I remember. Yeah. So it's crazy to me that they struggled this weekend, but I guess anything can happen in Singapore, you know?
Yeah. You're right. And I just was hoping, I thought, okay, with Max starting 11th, maybe we can see from Alonso. It's what I've been hoping for this whole year. If there's anyone that I want in a race right now, it is Fernando. But I just didn't get that. Not I, but everybody, Fernando, he just, I don't know. I just feel like it just ended up being a really poor weekend for Aston Martin, which is sad.
It was a shame.
Yeah, I just feel like recently at the moment, I'm like, oh, they're not doing that great. I'm hoping they'll come back. But like, people told me not to worry, and that like there just haven't been tracks that have suited the Aston Martin. But I think that now, like, we can't keep saying that every week.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm hoping that we will kind of get them coming back stronger soon. But
not all hope is lost.
But Mercedes, they were really strong this weekend.
What a weekend for Mercedes. I mean, if
George hadn't have crashed, I think they would have overtaken Lando, and they would have been.
I think if Carlos hadn't done the DRS trick with Lando, they would have gotten through. They would have they would have had like a real shot at winning. If everything hadn't happened, they were really, really good this weekend, and like not just the car, but the drivers worked so hard during that race. It was really good to see. Just like old times.
Just like old times.
Just like the old times that I wasn't here for, but
I think that they both work well as a team. Which is good to see. Because if we look back at previous years, we will see that Lewis hasn't always gotten on so greatly with his teammates, and some of them might have used to have been his best friend and is no longer. But moving on.
Did you see that Mercedes didn't go to celebrate his podium? Ferrari and McLaren were there, but Mercedes weren't there. None of the crew were there.
Maybe they didn't want to like rub it in to like in George's face.
I don't know, but that's still like, I don't know. That's not. You have to take care of both of your drivers.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't realize that though.
I didn't realize either.
I was too busy, like so invested in Carlos, that I just didn't notice.
Me too. Like I didn't notice at all, but they weren't there. Not a single crew member.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I think this goes without saying. There is one person that we need to talk about today, who was my driver of the day.
Oh yeah.
I feel like I don't know if I've actually mentioned this person on the podcast yet, even though I have been a fan of theirs for quite a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You know who I'm talking about, Darine.
I know.
I'm talking about Liam Lawson.
Yeah.
I think he is actually fantastic. And
such a good job.
Like, back in like almost a year ago must be, I was telling Darine and Holly, like, get Liam Lawson on your radar. He has potential. Like, I was just like, you need to pay attention to this guy.
Definitely.
And he's done my favourite overtake that I've ever seen, which was in Monaco, I think, during his F2 days, and it was against Dan Ticktum. I can't remember what year it was. But yeah, it was a fantastic overtake, and I still haven't seen an overtake that I've liked more than that one.
Yeah.
So already Liam Lawson was up there for me. Like, think he's really, really good at what he does. And I was just waiting for the day that
I will be genuinely surprised if he doesn't have a seat next year. I will be so surprised, because to get into an AlphaTauri of all cars and get points on your third race, being the only AlphaTauri driver that race, that is a miracle. If he doesn't have a seat next year, I will be genuinely surprised.
Yeah, because like he was the only Red Bull car to make it through to Q3.
Yeah, incredible.
He just was phenomenal this weekend, and again, he kind of had that little bit more pressure because Yuki wasn't racing. Well, he was racing, but then obviously his race ended very, very quickly. So again, there was that pressure like he had last week, and I just think he really, really did well. Like,
amazing.
I had predicted points this weekend for him, and he went, yeah, I'm doing that, and he got them, and I felt so proud. If he doesn't have a seat next year, I think that talent is going to waste.
Definitely.
Just like Oscar Piastri, I think that those two guys are phenomenal, and I think that a lot of times there was like this whole debate a few years ago about versus like rookies versus going for more experienced guys.
Yeah.
And I say guys loosely. I want a female F1 driver more than anyone. So when I say guys, like, yeah. But yeah, so they were kind of saying, like, should we go for rookies? Should we not? And some teams were going for rookies. For example, Red Bull went for Max Verstappen, where other teams were choosing to go for more experienced drivers. Yeah. But I think the rookies this year, maybe excusing Nick de Vries and Logan Sargent, but I think the others have proved how well it works having a rookie.
Definitely.
And I think what works with McLaren is having Oscar paired with Lando, because Lando has got that little bit more experience and can pass that knowledge on to Oscar. But I know that Yuki has kind of had a few more years experience than Liam, but I feel like in some ways Liam has kind of come into this a little bit into the unknown.
Yeah.
Obviously, it wasn't confirmed that he had a seat until Daniel broke his hand, and in comes Liam Lawson halfway through a race weekend. And I think, bearing in mind he had like no time to really prepare. Like, obviously, he was racing in Japan, so that kind of helped. But just to be able to pick up the pieces and push the AlphaTauri and get points from it. AlphaTauri only had 3 points this year. AlphaTauri's now got 5.
Thanks to him, like, to be thrown into the deep end like that and deliver points is amazing.
Exactly, and there's been 4 drivers at AlphaTauri this season. Only 2 have scored points.
Yeah.
One being Yuki Tsunoda, who scored 3, and the other now being Liam Lawson. So, bearing in mind that Liam Lawson's only raced for 3 races, he's scored 1 point less than Yuki has this whole season.
Yeah.
So that makes me ask this question: should Yuki Tsunoda be worried for his seat next year?
I think that if things don't start going his way very soon, he might be getting worried. Up until now, it's been kind of just bad luck, but there's only so long that can last. So if things don't start working out, he might be in trouble. And that really pains me to say, because I've recently become a big fan of Yuki Tsunoda. But we'll see. Only time will tell.
If AlphaTauri were to go for Yuki and Daniel next season instead of Liam Lawson, where could you see Liam Lawson going?
I think that there is potential. I don't know if this is true. I heard that Logan's contract isn't it's just for this year. He doesn't have a contract for next year. So I think that there's potential he could go and take Logan's seat in Williams.
Mm-hmm.
But he deserves better than a Williams. I don't know.
But I think if there are any two drivers to push that Williams to the max, it's Alex Albon and Liam Lawson.
So true.
And we know they work really well together because they were teammates at DTM.
Yeah.
And in was it last year? No. Yeah? No. Was it 2021? I can't. Yeah,
I don't know.
I think it was 2021. I can't remember.
It's okay.
No, 2021 because Alex Albon was racing in F1 last year. 2021, they were teammates and they worked really, really well together. And so I would love to see them back as teammates
again.
And I'm hoping that the pair of them would really kind of challenge each other. I think that they have that friendship where they can push each other.
Yeah, I think they would do really well.
So maybe Williams is probably an option, and I feel like if they are looking at getting rid of Logan Sargent, then I think Liam Lawson's definitely now, if he wasn't already, he is definitely
on the radar.
And
if he isn't, I'll be shocked.
Yeah, and I think that James Vowles knows what he's doing. He personally right now is my favourite team principal. I think he really knows what he's doing. So I'm hoping that he will make the right decision, and I think the right decision is Liam Lawson. That's obviously if AlphaTauri decide to stick with Yuki and Daniel. I'm not saying that Yuki isn't deserving of a seat, because I think he absolutely is.
Yeah.
And he has pushed this AlphaTauri more than Nick de Vries did. It's just obviously since Liam Lawson has been in F1, the first race he beat Yuki, I think. Then his second race, Yuki didn't start. The third race, Yuki DNF'd on the first lap. So it's been hard to kind of compare Liam to Yuki when Yuki hasn't finished a race yet.
There's not been any real comparison yet.
Well, he's finished one race, but the other two he hasn't. So it is hard to see. And the same with Ricciardo, because he's only raced two races.
Yeah.
But saying that, I think I read that Liam has been the only AlphaTauri driver to have put this year's AlphaTauri into Q3. Because I think Christian Horner said this, because then I think he said that Daniel's only had two chances, so it's hard to kind of compare. But yeah, so that's something to think about. In his third race, he managed to put that AlphaTauri into Q3. What did help though was obviously the Red Bulls weren't on form. So if they were on form, then obviously he probably wouldn't have made it to Q3 because he would have had to have dropped to fit them in. So, but yeah, I do think that he is someone that I'm hoping teams are looking at and thinking about, because I don't want to see him go without
he deserves a place.
Yeah, and he finished third in the F2 championship last year, with Logan Sargent finishing fourth, and there was only 1 point between the two of them. But I think since being in F1, we can see which driver has kind of proved themselves more and proved their talent, and that is Liam Lawson. So
absolutely,
we shall see. I'm excited to hear what people are saying. They on his interview with Sky Sports yesterday, they were all saying to him, "Are you knocking on Red Bull's door, being like, 'Hi, I'm here. Are you seeing me? Have you seen me in that car? I'm doing really well.'" And I think he's like, "I have already kind of been knocking at their door, showing them that I'm here and I'm ready." I think this has kind of proved it more. So it would be nice, if he does go to Williams, it would kind of be nice, even though Williams and Mercedes have links, it still would be nice for him to one day maybe get to Red Bull, as that's obviously he's a Red Bull junior driver, but also Red Bull is extremely cutthroat and scary. So I don't want them to hurt him in any way.
I don't want him in pressure, in such a high pressure environment.
I'm very protective of Liam.
Please treat him well.
So is there any I just talking of AlphaTauri, actually, I heard a rumor today that AlphaTauri, this is just a rumor, prefacing it's just a rumor. AlphaTauri could be renamed Adidas F1 team. They seem to be at the moment, all the names that are being thrown around, but all the names that are being thrown around have something in common. They're all clothing brands.
Right. Where did Hugo Boss Balls Racing go? Why are we changing names every week?
Darine, that was shambles. That was
horrible.
Also just a rumor, and that was shambles. Horrible. This sounds better than that. But I think it's interesting that, because AlphaTauri are also a clothing company, I think it's interesting that they've gone for another fashion brand as well. Yeah. I know that obviously Adidas also, or I don't know if it's Adidas or Adidas. I thought people are probably screaming at me.
I don't know either, to be honest.
So I don't know.
I say Adidas.
I say Adidas, but maybe it's Americans that say Adidas. I don't know.
I think so.
Anyway, I feel like they are just going for fashion brands, but I don't know. I think they're maybe trying to infiltrate fashion into Formula 1, which brings me on to my next point I've just remembered. Lissy McIntosh is doing a campaign with McLaren.
Oh.
It's to do with fashion. There's a company as well, but I can't think what they're called.
Yeah.
And that really excites me, because there's such a stigma around A, being a woman in the sport, but B, also liking fashion. And I know that some drivers are starting to like fashion, but for me, the reason why that means so much to me is I come from an acting background. I've been studying acting for 3 years, and during my final year, I had to have headshots, and I was allowed to alter my headshots to kind of suit a more motorsport profession.
Yeah.
And in one of my headshot photos, I wore a pink jumper. And my lecturers were allowed to help me choose which photo. I could choose 2 photos for free, and then I could buy any more. So I think I chose 3 in the end. So I paid for one separately. And one of the comments that was given back to you was, I really like this one in the pink jumper if you were going to acting, but I don't think wearing pink shows you to be professional in a male-dominant sport. And that infuriated me. Even to this day, I was like, why is there a stigma around the colour pink? Why can't I wear the colour pink? So if you see me eventually one day on Sky Sports F1 or Channel 4, Whisper, any of these companies, maybe even if it's just for a karting championship, if you see me presenting and I'm wearing pink, I'm changing the narrative. Women, we can wear pink and still like.
You better wear pink.
That's what I'm saying. So to me, that's why I'm really liking this with Lissy McIntosh, because it is proving that we can like other things.
You can be a girly girl and still be into motorsports.
Exactly. So yeah, that's making me really happy. But something that is not making me really happy. I'm sorry, Darine. I feel like all I've done today is just ramble, and you barely said a word. But
no, I love hearing you ramble.
This person. It's just, at first I thought they were fantastic and so interesting, and I thought, yes, another woman in the sport. Mango wants to make an appearance, everyone. I sometimes forget this isn't FaceTime, so when Mango appeared, I was like, oh yeah, hi Mango, but didn't even clock that like this is in the episode.
Mango's making his official podcast debut.
Yeah. So for those who are listening and aren't watching right now, Darine has a cat called Mango, and Mango is wanting all the fame.
Yes.
So Danica Patrick.
Yeah.
Is someone who I really thought, wow, she could be she's quite cool. You know, like, she's been racing in the States. She's now presenting on Sky Sports F1. Like this could be good. Like, you know, more women who
definitely,
are from the sport, such as Naomi Schiff, right? But she is coming out with some really interesting comments, and I don't mean interesting in a good way.
Yeah.
It started off with when they did the Sky Sports Kids broadcasting. She said in front of a girl that I can't remember the direct quote, but it's along the lines of like, this sport is masculine and you have to be aggressive and masculine to fight, and like women aren't really made to be like that, to drive, and like she's saying all of these things to A, young kids, but B, to a girl who asked her a question about the sport.
Right.
And it's like, why are you putting people off getting into the sport? Like,
why are you, as a woman, saying things to discourage other women?
Exactly. So like, should you not be a successful driver then? Because you don't seem to fit your narrative of it being masculine. You're a woman, as far as I'm aware. I don't know your pronouns, but as far as I'm aware, so why are you saying these comments? And then this week as well, she like made a comment about us being in a like the whole world being in a simulation, and I was just like, are you okay?
Like, what is bro waffling about?
What does that
How
mean?
is this? How is this in any way related to the topic? Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah, I don't really know what she was saying. And then she also made a comment about Ricardo, his age and like his career ending, which then prompted Ricardo to send in a text to Crofty that Crofty then read aloud to basically be like, I'm not old. I can still race if I want to. I still have a career.
So Daniel Ricciardo of him.
So, you know, I'm glad that Daniel's sticking up for himself, but it's just discouraging to see someone who could have who has a massive influence on women in the sport say these things when at the moment there's such an initiative to get women into the sport. Why would you then discourage them? That doesn't it doesn't show you off well for being a presenter, and you're saying these things to people who, especially on the kids one, where
young minds, young impressionable minds,
and like with it being obviously it's aimed at kids anyway, but parents might be like, oh, this might be a lot better to have it aimed at kids and stuff, because sometimes on the Sky Sports F1 broadcasting, even though it is bleeped out, there is foul language.
Yeah.
So parents really thought, oh, this would be a lot better for our kids to watch, and it's made by kids for kids, so it's going to be explained in a way that kids understand, right? And then you hear comments like that, and there could be girls watching thinking that they're like they've got started go-karting, they want to get into Formula One, and now they're being told, oh, well, you're not masculine, so no.
It's a shame.
So it's just really frustrating, because I just think that you have a voice that can impact others. Why would you say stuff like this?
You have to use it for good. Stop discouraging girls.
Yeah, I haven't spoken about the Danica Patrick things yet until now. But if people disagree with me, like, let's discuss it. Let's have a conversation. But yeah, I'm just hoping that we can encourage girls to get into the sport and not deter them from the sport. But yeah. Darine, do you have anything else to say? Because I don't want to end this on such a sad note. Do you have
such a sad note? Let's check our list of, like, did we mention everything?
I feel like we did. I don't know if we
did.
I don't know if we missed anything.
I think we've got everything, to be honest.
Oh, I know. I've got one more thing. One final thing.
Oh, yeah.
It was so nice to not hear the Dutch national anthem.
Oh, my God. Tell me about it. Oh, my God.
It was just it was like music. It was music to my ears. It was just
F1 outro is no more.
It was beautiful. It was just so beautiful. I think I just fell in love with the Spanish and Italian national anthems just because of that.
We're just so traumatized from the Dutch one. Anything new is.
I just like want to clarify, like, we don't absolutely hate Max, by the way.
Right? No, I'm very happy for him.
Yeah, and he's changing history. Like, he's making history right now. Like, he's doing an incredible job. But there's no battles. That's the issue I've got with it.
Do you know what, honestly, it wasn't even just Max, because remember at the start of the race, we were like, oh, this is getting a bit boring. So I don't think it's like entirely Max. It's just that like this season has been boring. Nobody was close enough in terms of battles until midway through yesterday's race, you know?
Yeah.
So,
and obviously we are going to have boring races from time to time. There's not going to be battles all the time, but it is like, I feel like, especially because we've had like a not as intense season, I think that we're appreciating the battles a lot more now than we probably used to. So that makes it kind of positive in that sense, that we're actually appreciating it all a lot more. But it did feel more like an F2 or F3 race, because I now turn to, well, F3 is now finished, but I turn to F2 and F3 because I can guarantee that there's going to be some battles and drama and safety cars and the whole lot of red flag, you name it, and it will appear in an F2 and F3 race.
Do you know who we need back?
If you're gonna say TP. No, because I felt so bad for him because he got so bullied afterwards. He just couldn't go on social media anymore because everyone was hating on him. So I don't want to bring him back just because I don't want people to hate on him anymore.
That poor guy. Why did anyone hate him?
Because they all blamed him for Max winning the championship.
It's not his fault. Like,
he got so much
hate. But it wasn't. And like, we need him back for the excitement in F1 again.
Yeah. Thank you all very much for listening to this episode of DHG Racing Podcast, and we'll hopefully see you in the next one. Bye!